Food essentially is probably the single factor that would determine if you are healthy or not. And there has been a lot of work that has happened across the world about what is good for health, what is not good for health, and all of that. Uh, but it is not the recent scientific evolution, but the importance of food was known right from the beginning. Hippocrates, who is considered to be the father of medicine, also said that food should become your medicine and medicine should be your food. So, medicine and food were equivalent. In fact, even in Ayurveda, we talk of how ahara is extremely important. um, Looking at it from the modern nutrition perspective, we keep talking of how the food has to be balanced. You should have all the nutrients. There should be carbs, proteins, fats, vitamins, minerals. But the approach of the modern nutrition is a little more reductionist. What the modern nutrition teaches us is our body is a machine which requires fuel, and this fuel is given by calories that we receive from food. But when it comes to yoga, it has a very, very profound understanding of the food, which is spoken in Taittiriya Upanishad. We are all very well aware of the Panchakosha model that comes from Taittiriya Upanishad. And the first kosha that we talk about is Annamaya Kosha. We keep talking about how our body is generated from, nourished and sustained by, and as well as at the end of our body's period, it merges with Anna. And that is why that is one of the greatest elements that creates human life, and it is considered to be the supreme medicine in Taittiriya Upanishad. Chandogya Upanishad goes one step further and says that your mind is generated out of your food. It says the coarsest part of the food becomes the feces, the subtler part becomes the flesh, and the subtlest part is the mind. And therefore, if you want to keep your mind pure, you will have to eat pure. And that is where probably we are very different in our approach to food than the modern nutrition. So what we understand now is that every time we are eating something, every time we open our mouth to eat a bite, we are either feeding a disease or fighting it. And that is what I will reiterate. Food is the single most important factor that will determine if you are healthy or not. And therefore, it is very, very imperative that we choose the right kind of food. Now, there are so many questions when it comes to eating correctly. To start with, when do we eat? We eat when we are hungry, naturally, but we also eat when we are happy, when we are sad, when we are depressed, when we are having events and get-togethers and parties. So, looking in totality, probably human being eats at any given point of time. And if you look at nature, human being is the only animal which eats even if they are not hungry. You take any other animal in the world, they eat only when they are hungry. Otherwise, they don't touch the food. And therefore, the problems that human beings have, probably no other animal in the world has. And therefore, it is very important for us to understand what exactly is hunger and appetite. Hunger is the physical need of the body to eat. Basically, like what the modern nutrition tells us, food is a fuel for giving energy to the cells that we have, and therefore, the moment the fuel is low, you start feeling to eat. Okay, that is the physical need to eat. And therefore, it cannot be ignored. Generally, it is gradual in onset. It is time dependent, diminishes with eating any kind of food. So if you are hungry and you eat anything, there is no problem, you will start feeling satisfied. Most of the times our food habits are related to appetite, which is more of desire. And for the sensory gratification through food. and therefore it is for a particular substance, maybe an ice cream, maybe a sweet. It can be ignored, but unfortunately most of us do not ignore it. It is rapid in onset. You must have had a stomach full meal, but then you see an ice cream, you suddenly start feeling hungry. The appetite, the desire to eat is very quick. It is not time dependent. It can be any given point of time. It persists even after eating, and it is satisfied by only the food that you wanted to eat and nothing else. The cravings, and that is where the mind is playing a role. What we need to also understand is the tongue versus tummy. Our tongue is about 1.5 inches, and beyond that, human body does not have any place where we can feel the taste of food. It is absolutely same if I am eating a kashaya or an ice cream beyond my tongue. But unfortunately, for that 1.5 inches, we spoil the entire body. And therefore, the first take home message is eat only when you are hungry. Do not eat just because you have desire to eat it. And that is where our yogic wisdom will come in picture. Our control over the mind is going to come in picture. The second thing is, when should we have our food? It is said that 1 meal a day you are a yogi, 2 meal a day you are a commoner, 3 meals a day you can become a rogi. There is so much of health problems that one can have if you have multiple meals a day. Intermittent fasting is basically you have a eating window of about 8 hours and then a fasting window of about 16 hours in a day. Now, if you follow this kind of a routine, what would happen is you can prevent a lot of health problems like obesity and insulin resistance and diabetes and chronic degenerative problems, neurodegenerative problems and all of that. And therefore, what is suggested, and this is where naturopathy also talks of 2 meals a day for a commoner. 2 meals, 1 meal at about 10:30, 11ish, and you have your brunch there, and at about 6:37 in the evening you finish your dinner. And therefore, the dinner has to be light and early so that there is enough time for us to digest and rest. The next question that I would like to answer is, how do we eat? One of the things that we talk in Nisargopchar or Prakritik Chikitsa is you drink your solids and eat the liquids. You chew your food so much that it becomes liquid in your mouth. And when you do that, what happens? There are a couple of things that would happen. One, it would basically get mixed with saliva in the mouth, which has a lot of digestive enzymes, and therefore digestion would start there. Second, you start feeling the taste of the food for a longer time, and that sends the signals to a place in brain called as hypothalamus, which has the satisfaction center. It is called as the satiety center. The longer you send the signal from mouth to the satiety center, the lesser is the desire to eat, and therefore feel the flavor of food that you are consuming. Then the second thing that we talk about is half the stomach should be filled with solids, 1/4 with liquids, and 1/4 should remain empty, as it is spoken in Mitahara's definition in Hatha Yoga. It should be sweet and agreeable food eaten keeping 1/4 of the stomach empty. Now, why you need to keep the stomach empty? It is your stomach essentially works like a mixer grinder. Okay, and if the jar of the mixer grinder is full, the mixing will not happen properly, the digestion will not happen properly, and therefore keep 1/4 of the stomach empty when you are consuming food. Now the problem is we don't have a window to see if 1/4 of the stomach is empty, and therefore a simple thing that you can take care whenever you are eating is do not eat till you start feeling full. That's a simple way of understanding that your stomach has some empty space for digesting it. Another thing about how we should be eating is being spoken beautifully in the definition of Mitahara. It should be as an offering to Shiva. Shiva or Lord, be thankful that you are able to eat food, because if you are able to eat food, you are better than half of the world. There are so many people who are unable to have any kind of food. The other thing about praying before we start eating. Now, this is again a common practice across religions across the world. You pray before you start eating. The reason is, whenever we pray, the autonomic nervous system in our brain has the parasympathetic nervous system, which is for rest and digest, and the sympathetic nervous system, which is for the works that we do in excitation. So if you want to stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system, prayer is probably one of the best ways of doing it. When your mind calms down, you can eat, digest the whole food. How not to eat? Probably the pictures are good enough. Please do not do multitasking when you are having food. Do not rush through your food, and also do not do binge eating, which is probably one of the common practices during the lockdown period that we are seeing. Whatever we talk in yoga is also translated that way, where I understand the purpose of what I am eating. When am I eating? Is it the right time to eat, or is there a different time at which I have to eat? What am I eating? Is that the right thing to eat? How am I eating? Am I slow? Am I quick? Am I feeling the food? How much am I eating? Where do I invest the energy that I get? Please remember that the food is your mind, and therefore how do I invest the energy that I receive is an important question to answer. And therefore, eating mindfully is going to be the key. A few simple tips for eating well. Don't be in hurry. Please pray before you start. Feel the taste of the food. We say, that you should not be eating only with your tongue, but rather you should use all your sense organs to consume food. Okay, and that is why probably the best way of eating food is through how the Indians eat. They have everything mixed with their hands, because they feel the texture of the food, the fragrance of the food, and the vision of the food. So use all your sense organs to consume food, and not just tongue. A lot of times even that is absent when people are eating. You can use soft relaxing music when you are eating. No multitasking when you are consuming food, because your mind must be fixed on the food. You should actually practice karmasu kaushalam there. Do only what is at your hands and nothing else. Sit at a real table, and what I mean by that is sit down when you are having food. I am not meaning that you should be sitting on a dining table or on the floor or something like that. If possible, please sit cross-legged on the floor. That is the best way of eating anyway. Respect your body and health. It is very, very important that we also cook in a good mood, because Bhagavad Gita tells us that the mood of the person who is cooking gets transferred to the food. And therefore, if you are not in a good mood while cooking, that mood is going to get transferred to whoever is consuming that food. And cooking is going to be important. Then eat your favorite food last, for two reasons. Number one, generally the favorite food is not the healthy one. Okay, it's generally the sweet or something like that. And therefore, if you're starting with it, you will end up eating it more, which is not good for your health. Second, if you are eating your favorite food at the end, you will leave the plate with that taste in your mouth, which is long lasting, and you will enjoy the taste for a longer time. Having spoken that, what should we be eating? And that is again where Hatha Yoga tells us beautifully that there should be food which is conducive to us, which includes good grains, wheat, rice, barley, milk, ghee, brown sugar, sugar candy, honey, dry ginger, patola fruits, vegetables, moong and such pulses, and pure water. It goes further in saying that the taste of the food should be sweetish, meaning it should be bland. Too much of spices is not going to be healthy ones. Also, it should be nourishing. Ghee and milk should be used, which is nourishing to the dhatus, the sapta dhatus that are being spoken in Ayurveda, and it should be pleasing and suitable for an individual. So what do we eat? We eat what is seasonal and regional. The best things that nature gives us are from our own places, and therefore whatever is seasonal and regional is the best for us. More you process food, it becomes bad for health, and therefore if you want to remain healthy, consume least processed food, including, when I talk of processing, that includes the process of cooking, and therefore cook minimally for the things that require cooking. The things that can be consumed without actually cooking should be taken like that. Your food must be balanced, meaning it should have all the nutrients that are required. It should be vegetarian, and we will talk a little more on Sattvic, Rajasic and Tamasic. The concept of Sattva, Rajas, Tamas has been beautifully explained by Sri Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, and Krishna is very, very precise in telling us what is the kind of food that a Sattvic person would take and like, and what will it promote. So it is the Ayu, Sattva, Bala, Arogya, Sukha, Priti, Vivardhanaha, so beautifully explained. The longevity, health, purity, cheerfulness, mind-body harmony, all of that can be enhanced if you have Sattvic food. What are those foods? They are fresh, natural, has a natural taste. You have not added on flavors. Okay, so it is the natural taste of food that you are consuming. They are comparatively bland. They are not very spicy. They are wholesome food. The things that are nourishing, vegetarian, easy to digest. So all of that is Sattvic food. And once again, I would go back to what I started with. Food is your mind, and therefore if you want to go to a Sattvic mindset, you will have to start eating Sattvic food. Of course, then there is Rajasic food, which promotes the sensuality, aggressiveness, energy, desire, restlessness. And what is that kind of food? It is spicy, oily, sour, bitter, pungent, stimulants. If I have to give you an example, probably, when we have a cup of coffee or tea, instantly there is a lot of energy that comes in. People choose to have tea or coffee when they are drowsy. But then you have 2, 3, 4 cups of coffee, the other issues like restlessness, the aggressiveness, all of that would start coming in. And therefore, we need to understand that we need to avoid stimulants. The next thing probably is the tamasic food, which promotes lethargy, dullness, tiredness. Okay, and these are the foods which are fermented, overripe, packed, preserved, non-vegetarian food. A lot of times when the modern nutrition concept tells us that food gives us energy, then a full meal that should make us more energetic. But that's not how it happens. It's the other way around. You start feeling tired, you start feeling drowsy, lethargic, and that is because of the nature of the food and not just the energy. And therefore, it's imperative that we choose what is right for us. A very important factor, that is the dietary fibers. A lot of dietary fibers should be consumed whenever we are having food, and that is because typically we talk of the bowel movements and how it will keep it healthy and all of that. But whenever we have a lot of dietary fibers, it controls the glucose absorption. It is known that in foods which has a lot of fibers, the absorption of glucose is very slow, and therefore a myth that a lot of times is spoken is diabetics cannot eat fruits. Rather, diabetics can eat a lot of fruits because it has fibers, and the absorption of the glucose from your intestines is very, very slow. A new factor that is emerging in last 20-30 years in the scientific era is what is called as the gut microbiome. Meaning, we have always known that our intestines have some bacteria which are healthy. But now what we understand with a lot of scientific research, it talks about what is called as the gut-brain axis. The gut-brain axis essentially means that there are chemicals produced by the bacteria which are present in your intestines which regulate the activity of your brain. Now, looking at it from the Eastern understanding, we have always spoken of if your abdomen is clean, you will remain healthy. Whether it is yoga which talks of Shat Karma, whether it is Ayurveda which talks of Panchak Karma, whether it is naturopathy which keeps talking of your abdomen must be clean. We, the traditional health systems, have always understood the importance of the healthy abdomen. Now that can be achieved by increasing the dietary fibers, and which can happen if we have a lot of fruits, vegetables and other things in our food. Whenever I talk of food and I keep telling people that they should turn vegetarians, sometimes even vegans, a lot of questions arise. People keep asking how, whether we will get this protein, whether we will have enough of vitamins, etc. The human biology, by the structure of jaw, the teeth, the nails, the digestive enzymes, the length of intestine, we are very similar to the animals which are herbivorous in origin. Whereas the animals which are carnivorous have a very different structure of their body by the biology itself. So nature has not created us to consume non-vegetarian food. Of course, there are moral, ethical and medical issues with meat. We keep talking of ahimsa in yoga. One of the yamas and niyamas that we learn in the basic set of practices that we need to follow whenever we are in path of yoga is ahimsa. And consuming flesh is definitely something not that way. Big questions are up there about the hygiene that is maintained in the poultry industry and all the other places where meats are sold. The hormones are injected because they want rapid growth. Antibiotics are consumed. Sometimes people also question if the vegetarians would lack power or abilities if they don't consume enough amount of so-called energy-giving foods. And I have pictures of some people from different walks of life. Prime Minister Modi ji, he has been working for 7 years, not taken a single day break, and he works 18 hours a day. One of the things that contributes to it is the food that he consumes. We have Virat Kohli, who is probably one of the topmost cricketers in the world, turned vegan for last 3 years, and his performance is at peak. We have Djokovic, who was world number one for real long time. He's a vegan himself. We have Serena and Venus Williams. Tennis is probably one of the most grilling sports that you can think about. And these people are at top of their game for real long time, even with the vegetarian vegan food. We have Amitabh Bachchan, who is turned vegetarian for really long time in his life, and he's acting at his age, which probably even the younger actors cannot do. On the other side, we have got Lewis Hamilton, who is also a vegetarian. He drives in cars which are extremely fast. A split-second reflex is going to create crashes, and therefore there is not a specific area that the energy or power or ability that a vegetarian or a vegan would lack, and therefore we should not have any doubts that we can adapt a healthy lifestyle, your food should become your part of yoga sadhana, and that has been spoken by Sri Krishna. Yuktahara viharasya yukta cheshtasya karmasu yukta swapna avabodhasya yogo bhavati dukkhaha. And therefore, if we want to remain healthy, if we want to stay away from misery, we have to follow the path of yoga, which is not limited to asana or pranayama or meditation. It is all 24 hours we must be doing yoga through our ahara, the food, vihara, the nature. Our nature has to be modified. Your thought process, your even the sleep and dreams. So all of that has to be modified, and I wish all of you would start walking on this path of yoga even through your food,